Hi everyone, welcome to Geography class. I am your host today. Sorry for not being able to put the video of myself in the screen. Hopefully next video I was able to do it because you will know who are you listening to. So, who am I? Let me explain about myself a little bit. My name is Parit. I will be your teacher in this subject. So, a little bit of my background. I graduated from Thammasat University in bachelor degrees in political science. So before I became the teacher here in Podisan Piyakon School, I was a foreign relation officer in Department of Agricultural Extension. Right now, I am teaching here in this school for the second year, and I also teaching at สวนกุหลาบวิทยาลัย School ธนบุรี campus. Okay, that's enough about myself. So, shall we go into the subject? Before we begin, I would like to ask you some questions, and I also would like yourself to ask a little bit of questions to you. Number one, how well do you know the earth you are living on? How well have you know about the places that are on the surface of the earth? Don't even go that far. How well do you know the town you're living in, the community you are living in, or even the home you are living in? So hopefully you will be able to answer these questions. Next question is, do you know that most of the water on earth are not drinkable? Quite shift, isn't it, from the earlier questions and come to these questions, but in the end it will make sense. So as you can see here in this picture, the majority of the water, liquid on the planet Earth are not drinkable. Unless you purify it, then you can drink it. Next, you see this man? I reckon most of you know who he is. He is very famous bodybuilder, actor, and was the ex-governor of the state of California. But did you know Arnold Schwarzenegger is not American? Right? Some people believe he is American, but when you listen to his accent, he is not. In fact, he is from Austria. Next questions. Did you see in the picture on the top? It's very, very cold. It's freezing temperature. In the other hand, on the picture below, the desert is nothing, no signs of life, but the heat and emptiness. So, why is it cold over here, but not over there? Have you ever asked these kind of questions to yourself, to your father, to your mother? Why in the south of Thailand doesn't have winter season? But why in the central and the northern part of the country, from the central to the north, have winter seasons? I find it very interesting. Some of you may know the answer, some may don't, but everything has an explanation. Next, you see below it's our planet Earth, and floating above it in its orbit is the space shuttle, where which is what we use to travel in the space. And the questions here is, how can we explore and study about other planets? Why we're still not able to learn every aspect of our own, right? So if you are able to answer all the earlier random questions, you might have some knowledge about the world physically and psychologically, about the world or the planet's environment and the relation between people. But if you can answer the earlier questions, then before we even thinking outside the earth, should take a look and study better on the earth, not inside, on. Okay, so, whoops, who's there? That's Mr. Donald Trump. Yes, he's in his serious face, thinking. So should you? To answer all these questions, we need what? Okay, let's pause a little bit. And what do you think we need to use in order to answer aforementioned questions asked? Okay, so let's see what's number one. The internet. Okay, so as kids nowadays, the people of new generations, internet is the way to solve every problems because it contains lots of informations. It's very fast to look into, and there are varieties of information to choose from. However, all of earlier questions cannot be answered by the internet unless we study off the geography first, because internets provide information. Information is the data that will analyze it into informations. So before it becomes information, you need to gather all the data about geography of the earth and then analyze and put it in informations. Okay, so now some of you may ask a question. What is geography? Why on earth we have to study about geography? Why? Since ประถมศึกษา or even มัธยม 1, 2, 3, 4 and now 5, you have to study geography. There is an answer for that. So again, the question is, what is geography? Geography is the study of places and the relationships between people and their environments. This is very short, very easy to understand answers. And I quoted this from National Geographic, but I haven't read it, so I just mentioned it. So here you see, when you learn about geography, it's not just study about rocks, mountains, forests, or even how the rains begin, but also study about the relationship of the environment, how it affects, how it have relations, how it links to the people, and not even mention how people behave based on those criteria. Now, in this class, in geography, for Mathematics 5, we will begin with a study about geographical instruments. So instruments, in the other words, it means tools. So basically geographical tools. But in academic terms, we prefer instruments. So, what is geographical instrument? Geographical instrument is the tools used in exploring, collecting, recording and analyzing of geographical data. See, you explore, then you collect, you record what you find, and then you analyze it. So after you analyze the data, you get an information. So, moreover, it's also able to provide geographical information for supporting in planning and decision making. See, so when you get the information, you are able to use this information to support, especially in planning and decision making. Why? Because without information, geographical information, many planning such as development of the cities or making a decision based on jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is like the area that you have authority on, right? So if you do not know where is the border of your authority, you do not know what is the condition of the land over there that you want to build a new residential area, then how can you make an effective or best decision or best planning without the geographical informations? Geographical instruments can be categorized into two categories. So depends on how you see them, but for me, I would like to put it in very simple two categories. Number one, instrument that provide geographical informations, such as maps, aerial photograph, satellite image, globe, atlas, so on and so forth, right? So when you take a look at in the map, it gives you the informations. For example, you take a look at the map of the Bangkok. So what you see and what you learn is, what does the Bangkok looks like? What is the cities or the district that are registered in Bangkok? Where's the rivers? Where's road, street, route? How can you travel from point A to point B within Bangkok and come back, right? So those are the informations that you receive from this instrument. Next category, instrument that collecting geographical data. And information such as compass, telescope, stereoscope, thermometers, barometers, so on and so forth. So now, the first one is the instrument that provide you with the information of geographical data. The second one you use to collect the data and the information in order to process, to analyze, and create an information that the first instrument are able to provide to you. So I hope this is simple for you to understand about how can we categorize the differences of geographical instruments by the usage or by its function. So they are providing information and the one that collecting data or informations. So the geographical instruments, they are so many and so plenty, but the one that we are going to learn and what I am going to talk about today is in fact a very close object, a map, or in case maps, more than once, right? Okay, so what are the maps? So you know, maps tells you how you can get from point A to point B, right? Something like that. So map is a media that shows information of the earth in the form of graphic that's scaled out in size, meaning we study the real size, the real shape of the surface of the earth, and then we put it in the scaled out size that are equivalent in ratio to the real one. We have the real shape, the real looks on a flat paper. That's what the map is. Map provide geographical information that inform locations and places of both nature and man-made. So as you can see the breakout picture, right? They are the name of in this particularly doesn't have name because it's too far away to see, but yes, just assume that there are rivers, right, on the blue lines and blue shapes, and the black shape that runs along the map is the route. So what is the route? The road or the route is different from the rivers. Rivers, some of them is nature, some of them is man-made. The route in fact is man-made, right? And also you can see this thick very long lines that also represent the borders line. Borders does not exist in nature, but is what we assume to claim to agree on which is the land of ours and which is the land of the others. Map use lines, see, colors, signs, symbols, directions, and scale to represent the surface of the earth. That's basically explain what is behind in the background, right? And one thing I want you to remember, without a direction, the map is useless. Because you can't read the map without knowing what is your location or your direction in this case. Okay? Now, look at this picture. This is one type of the map, but we're not gonna go into detail just yet. But the maps also can categorize into two major categories. Number one, we call it general reference maps. What does it mean? It's a base map that we use them as the fundamental in creating other specific maps, which is the thematic maps. Thematic maps or specific maps creates for use in specific fields such as population map, communication map, climate map. So on the background, this is world population density map. So this is one of the thematic map, right? Which is used the base map from the general reference maps. Now, the elements of topographic map. So not to be confused, the word topographic in Thai means ภูมิประเทศ. So topographic maps mean แผนที่ภูมิประเทศ. Okay? So go back just a little bit. The topographic map usually used as a base map or the general reference map. So as you can see here on these two pictures, unfortunately it's really hard to find one, and this is in Thai, but I have listed the word in English on the right side of the screen. So let's see the first one. On the left picture, on the top it says เส้นขอบระหว่าง right? In that orange boxes, that is called neat line. Neat line means เส้นขอบระหว่าง, which is separate the sheets from the outside, so you understand the information between the neat lines. Next is elements inside the neat lines. So the elements mean the detail or the information that are written or draw or put it in inside the neat line. Next, on the bottom of the first left picture, องค์ประกอบภายนอกขอบระหว่าง or we call elements outside the neat line, right? Right, I say this the neat line, that's the inside. that's the outside, right? So if you can see here, this is inside, this is outside. So what do we call this inside? Before we go to that, on the top of the map, you will usually see what we call the series name, because this topographic map, especially if it's a map that you can't just simply put the size of it in one paper, then you need to have a separate sheets of paper of the maps. So they must have the series names so that they know where these small maps are part of what big maps. So next is the sheet name. Okay, so sheet is what inside the needle lies. This whole area we call sheet. Okay, SHEET, sheet. Okay, so on the top they also provide with the sheet name so you can know what is this are called. Next, the legend. Legend is not the myth that tell from times to times, from elder to the younger. No, the legend is the explanation of the symbols within the map. So here is the legends, which will be put out throughout the map inside the sheet. Next is slope and elevation guide. So here is the slope and elevation guide. On the side is slope, on the right is elevations. So why do you need a slope and elevation guide? Okay, so before we go further, I forgot to tell you something, that topographic map is the map that provides the details of the surface of the earth. So as you can see in this map, but also it's provide the elevations, which means we have the horizontal and vertical information of the area. Okay, so that's why you need slope and elevation guide. Next is glossary. Glossary is basically like a dictionary, or no, not the dictionary, the vocabulary for you to understand the word that used in the map. And next is index. Index basically like a directory explaining what are you looking at in the map right now. Next is notes. Notes is what the map creator put to explain in some further functions of the maps, or what are they want to communicate with the readers of the map. And last is the scale. So the scales here show you what is the actual size compared to the map you are reading. Very important if you are using the maps to measure the traveling or to locate the locations, because the scale can also vary to the real thing. If you doesn't know the scale, then you cannot compare the map if it doesn't say that how long or how wide or how far the map is. Okay, so scale is very important. Now we talk about the elements of topographic map. Now I'm going to talk about the element of thematic map. Thematic map is including name of the map, right? Same as before, you have names, so you know what this map is called. Next, we have the scale of the map again, so you can see what is the actual size compared to the map you are reading. And next is the direction. Again, no direction map is useless. Then coordinates. We have longitude and latitude, right? So this is the assumption line that we use in the location system to make an coordinates on the map, right? So you can know what is your current location. So these lines, they are horizontal and vertical. The point that these two lines are crossed, that point is where you are. Okay, so that is how you coordinate your location on the surface of the Earth using maps. Next is legend. Again, legend explain about the symbols and things that are using in the map, so you understand what are those symbol or sign means. So we'll come back to this. This is thematic map because it's used specific to explain the world population density in 2015. So you can see, you see the shapes of the countries around the world, and you see the scale. You can find the coordinates on the map, right? So this is basically perfect base map. And then you put the information about the world population density, basically to explain where is the area that people live the most. So they use the color to scale the area that have less density have lighter color. The area with higher or high densities have darker colors, which have the legend explained over here. So you can see what each color represents for. So now you see the thematic maps. Okay, so also thematic map have many types. It's just not one type. Number one, the dot map. What's the dot map means? Basically, they represent the value they want to explain in the map using dot. If you go back to the earlier screen, right, instead of using color, they will use dot to identify what the information they want to put in the map. Next, proportional symbol map. So proportional symbol maps go back to the same map again. If you can pause, right, or you can go back, but I can't. This is continuous, unable to go back for some reasons. Okay, so instead of using color or using dot, they will use a shape. Mostly are in circles. The bigger circle represent the bigger portion, the bigger in size or density or whatever the units they use. The smaller means they have a smaller or least units required in that map. So that is proportional symbols. For example, we talk about the maps that shows the infections of COVID-19 or the coronavirus in Bangkok area, right? So we talk about the Thonglor district, we talk about Bang Khae district, we talk about Bang Khaen district, right? For example, in Thonglor have 3,000 people infected. So the portion, the circle that create in Thonglor district have very big circle. Again, in Bang Khaen district, the circle is medium size compared in 3 district, because in Bang Khaen district have maybe 500 people infected, so it's smaller, or they have less people infected from the Thonglor district, so they represent with the smaller circle. And however, the other district, the Bang Khae district, have 0 patients infected with COVID-19, right? So they have the smallest, or let's say the smallest circle. To show the proportion differences depends on the data input, or what unit you represent, what the information you try to tell. The size means it's a lot in there, the big size. The small size means they are least or not exist at all. Next map is isolate map. So this map can be easily explained if you watch the weather channel where the news the weatherman comes, right? And then they explain what is happening during today or tomorrow. And in the map you can see there are lines. Those lines is the isolate map. They use the line in different shape to explain the value they input, explain the information, mostly used in weather industry to measure the rain, measure the moisture in the weather, in the air. Next is flow map. So flow map represent the relationship between the place of the map to another place in the map. For example, we talk about the exportation of cars from Japan to another country. So then you draw the line from Japan to the country that they export car to. But how can you know what is the difference in value of the information you try to tell? So in this case, we talk about the numbers of cars are exported from Japan, right? So the country that Japan export car to the most will have the thickest or the biggest line. The country that have lower or smaller numbers of exportation will have a thinner or very small, very thin lines drawing from Japan to that country. And the country doesn't have any car exported from Japan, they will have no lines to draw into. So that is flow map. Next is choropleth. Choropleth can be easily explained by the map I showed earlier, the world population density map. Choropleths use the color to tell the value of the information. The higher the number, the darker the color will be. The lower the number or the value, the lighter the color will be. So that is choropleth map. Next is chromochromatic map. Chromochromatic map also use color, but in different functions and the way to use. Choropleth use the shade of the color. Darker means high value, lighter means less to none value, right? Chromochromatic maps use specific color which explain in the legend what each color is represent. So it doesn't have any relationship in terms of numbers, but it represents other thing. So if you have the dark green and you have the lighter green, these two is not the same thing. It doesn't represent the different in values, but it represent in different information input in. Okay, so on the map of Thailand, again we talk about the people are infected with COVID, right? Again, go back to Thong Lo, Bang Khen, and Bang Khae, right? So in Thong Lo, now we do not talk about the numbers. We talk about the people who are infected, right? So they use red color in Thong Lo because red color represents all people. They use blue color in Bang Khen because it represents middle-aged to teenagers, and then it used white color in Bang Khae to represent that there are no infections, right? So even if we put these three colors in the same color but different shade, it also doesn't explain the different in numbers, but it explains the difference in the value or the information inputted in that area. So that is chromochromatic map. And the last one is diagrammatic map. Basically, the map with the diagram showing the statistic in that area of the map with the information, whatever information you try to tell, but mostly use in statistic. For example, again, we use explanation of COVID-19. For example, go back to Thonglor, Bangkhen, and Bangkhet, right? So to explain the difference in numbers of infections, in the people who were infected, right? They will have diagram, the chart, right, to show the numbers, to represent the number. The higher the number, the taller, the longer the charts will be. And the less will mean the shorter it will be. If there's none, then there's no chart, or the chart is like below at zeros. Okay, so that's all for the types of thematic maps. Now, what are the benefits of the map? Okay, if I go too fast, please comment. I need to explain just a little bit. If you have any questions, I would like you to written the questions you want to ask. Okay, in the end, I will provide you with the Q&A time for you to ask me, and I will answer the question as much as possible. Okay. Okay, so let's get back to the benefits of the map. The map can be used in everyday usage. The map can use in education. The map can use in development, administration, military, society, and tourism. Now, some of you may, okay, I know what is it everyday uses of the map are for, or education, or country development. But what about administration? What about military? Society? Tourism is understandable, right? So, before I explain again, before moving on to the next slide, I want you to sit and think. Use your information you have, use your imagination, and use your knowledge to think what can we achieve in these 7 categories of the benefits of the map, right? Some of you may find it really hard to find the benefit because you doesn't use it as much, right? Okay, and for those who would like to go to the bathroom, you are feel free to go, my friend. You are at home, but please come back and manage your time because the video will not be fully in 1 hour and 30 minutes because I have to prepare the times for the Q&A, for you to do some other assignments, or even some of you to download or loading the videos. Okay, so let's pause for 2 minutes. Okay. Nah, just kidding. I think that's all the time you need, so please come and take a look together with me. Now, in everyday usage, as you can see in my presentation, I always finding the picture or the photos that are able to tell, let's say, have the reference with the word that I'm about to explain, right? So in here you can see there are 4 people reading the map, right? That is your everyday use. How do you get from home to work if you do not know anyone, if you do not know the area before but have only a map in your hands, right? The map can explain, can show you, you can use to plan your way to work from home, right? So that is the very beginning of everyday usage. Not even mentions for others' career. So basically the most common usage of map is for traveling from place to place because map shows the actual shape of the surface of the earth and also put the route in the map so you know which way to go, which way to take, which road you need to find. And but for other works, for other career, they also use the map. But what are they used for? Education. You see, teacher is pointing the areas of the map on the screen, and the students are trying to answer. But what is the map do to education? If you can't answer these questions, you need to reconsider it yourself. So the whole thing I've been teaching you about reading the maps, that is one thing that it's provide to education, right? The map contains geographical information that have been analyzed and put in for other people to use the information that were collect and analyzed. In education, for example, map show you the surface of the earth, then the teacher can teach the student without going out to space and look down on the earth to see what is the actual surface looks like, right? So the student can study what is the shape of Thailand look like from their classroom. Next, we can teach students to where exactly this country are located in. What country is next to Thailand in the south? So the map can provide information that already collect and analyze it. So basically, it's very important to use a map for education. So we can understand the basic geographical information in our everyday life, such as countries, borders, and places and location on Earth. That is very, very important. Next, country development. If you were older, maybe 10 to 15 years older, you will see lots of picture of the King Bhumibol, the late King Bhumibol, right? The King Ramanai of the Kingdom of Thailand. During his reign, there are lots of pictures of him. And in many pictures always have him either reading or holding the map. Why? Because in the period of the late King Bhumibol, he tried to gather as much as information about the people, the area, the location of Thailand, and then to find, to work as what the king should be, which is to, let's say, provide the well-being of the people that living in the kingdom. So he traveled to places, he go to places, meet lots of people, learn every new stuff about the problems, about the benefit, about everything he could learn, and then he put it together to create many things. One thing that we learn is the SEP, or we call sufficiency economy philosophy, right? So that is the one thing that he was able to gather from the time of his work, from his duty. And he was not able to achieve all of that without the information of the map. How can he know where to travel to these people if he doesn't have the map? You may say he might find a really nice or really good navigator, right? But also the navigator, before he could learn all of this, he also needs a map, right? And also, The maps provide lots of geographical information. It's make much more easier for you to make a planning in development. For example, you say you want to build a hospital, but you doesn't know the geographical location of that area you want to build a hospital. And then you just order, okay, on this location I want you to build a hospital. And then you realize later when they finish build the hospital was located in the sea, because you just study what is the coordinates you point tells you about, right? So it would take lots of money to complete a hospital within the sea. But again, people is harder to travel to get the service from the hospital because it's located in the sea, right? If you look at the map, use the information it provides, and make a very good planning and execute a very good decision, you was able to build a hospital in the suitable area with a lot cheaper price. People have easier access to the hospital, meaning the rates of death and uncared population and receive healthcare service of population will be reduced, right? So if you doesn't make a good planning, if you just study about geography, none of which will be not able to achieve. We will not have Thailand today because everything just go wherever they want us to be if you don't study about geography, and also you don't understand. So see, this is just the place and location. It also tells the environments that have relation to the people. Like I said, if the hospital is in the sea, how can you get to the hospital? You either go by boat or swim, right? But mostly you will die before you reach the hospital if you swim. If you go to boat, the boat takes long time, and if the boat is not big, it can't carry lots of people, so it's not economical, and if you are in emergency, you could die before you reach the hospital. So if the hospital is located on the land nearby the residential area, people can easily travel to the hospital. It makes their life much better. It makes the development of the people living or the well-being much better. If people happy, country is developing, right? Or at least if they're not happy, at least you still have the labor to work for the economic of the country. But what happens if you put the hospital in the sea and people all dying? Then you have no labor, and who's going to work for you? And then your kingdom will be failed. Your country will be considered as the failed state, right? So country development, the map is very important, in fact. Next, administration. So same as country development, but administration is more serious. Why? Because administrations mean the ruling system in the country, right? So each country have different ruling system. So for Thailand, we centralize power to the Bangkok. We apply the regional, provincial, which is the regional is consists of many provinces, and then into the province's jurisdiction we have the governor to govern, and then come back to the highest. The highest power is the parliament and the prime minister and his cabinet, right? So if you are a policeman, for example, your duty is to catch a bad guy, to maintain peace and order, to enforce law, right? But you are the policeman in the Bangkok, let's say again Thonglo area, right? And your friend calls you that, okay, we need a situation. There were robbery happening in Bang Khae area, which is like far away from Thonglo area, right? You are the police in Thonglo district. You cannot cross the jurisdiction to the Bang Khae district. You cannot just go there and investigate it yourself and take the matters in your hands because you have no authority or power to do it. So this is very, very important in administrations. Crossing the boundaries, the border of jurisdiction is very serious and can be considered as illegal. So what you do, you need to cooperate by handling what you know, transfer the case to the station that are having jurisdiction, which is the District of Bang Khae Police Department. So for other work outside, let's not talk about the police. Let's talk about let's say the management in province, right? So the governor, he has the power in his province, so he can design what he wants to do with his province that he is currently ruling. But all those must comply with the bigger policies from the central, which is from Bangkok, right? So for example, I am the governor of Chumphon province, and I say, oh, last time I traveled to Prachuap Khiri Khan, which is next from Chumphon, right? And I said, oh, I don't like this road. Let me get the man and rebuild it, make it much better. I would love to do it because I travel to find my girlfriend with this pad every day, and I hate when my cars hit bumps. So I want my man to fix it immediately. Okay, we have the budget to do. We have the people to do. We have the tools to do. We have everything to do. However, there are one thing that I don't have, is the power or jurisdiction, the authorities over Prachuap Khiri Khan. That powers belong to the governor of Prachuap Khiri Khan, right? So you can see, map, area, borders is very important in administrations. So before we can handle things, we can manage things or deal with things, we need to know first who is responsible for the matter in that area, because we cannot cross our jurisdiction. It will lead to chaos. As you can see, not even mention the government. Let's talk about the rescue unit. Poting Ting, yeah. Sorry for mentioning the names, but just to ring a bell that those kind of rescues, right? They are non-profit foundation that provide emergency help to the people who needs it. More often you hear the news about them fighting over the patient because they are crossing path in their area, in the district, right? From the agreement, like who is taking care in which area. So when the cross path happening, you can't design who will be the person in charge and responsible to, who this responsibility belongs to, or the benefit who will be received. So that's why we need to know exactly who has the power in which area, and map is significant. If you go to every government office, especially in the office under the Ministry of Interior, they will have the map of the province, the district, or whatever, somewhere in the building. They must have. All right. Next is military. All many boys get excited when we talk about military, right? So if you play lots of games, not even the games, you have the maps. Why you need the map? Okay, of course you need to travel. That's the everyday usage like we mentioned earlier. But in military, they not only learn where should they travel, they should know the shape of the area. They should know the location, the places, their territory or the enemy's territory, right? Because without this knowledge, they can die. Attending in military in let's say emergency situation depends what we call the life and death matters, right? You need all informations to outrun or outsmart your enemies. So when you are fighting, before you fight, you need to make a plan. Where is the best area for applying your strategy? If you led to the place that you're unfamiliar with, and it's the place that the enemy is very familiar with, you have significantly lower chance to win over the fight. But again, if you do know the place well, but the enemies don't, you have benefit, you have the advantage over the enemies and increase your success chance. So that's why military needs the map. You can see when the boys, if you study in what you call radar, I forgot what they call it in English, right? One page of your book that you never read will always teach you some things about the map, like what kind of the map it is, how to read it, how to use it, because when you are in the war zone, again, like I said, you lost all the communication, you have only the papers on the map and the compass, you're on your own. You need to find yourself to get to the safety, which is really hard when you are in the dark or in the forest or in the place that you doesn't know. If you have an ability to read the map is very benefit for a chance of surviving. So map for military is very important. Moreover, like I said, to plan the attack, to plan the escorting route, to plan whatever the operation is, it requires map. No maps, military will be like a blinding, because if you doesn't know the territory you operations on, then you just like driving in the dark or going blind. That's what they call going blind, right? So maps very important to military. Next, society. We have lots to talk about with societies. Why? Because in societies there are so many things, so many factors that are resulting in what the society are in each area, right? So let's say again, when we talk about the society, we always talk about the people and their environment, because the environment is the factor that resulting in how each individual are behaving and how do their relationship will create among each other inside their societies, right? So in this background page, this map is showing the people who are living in extreme poverty, right? Why poverty is regarding societies? Because the well-being of the people is what people seeking in the society, right? We want people to be happy, we want people to be able to feed themselves, so which means we want the poverty to be very low. But again, no country is perfect, even though you are very large percentage of poverty, but they also still have some people that are facing with the problems of poverty. So this map can help you to identify. So when you're collecting data and you analyze it and you put in a map, it make you easier and make you uh, easier to understand why this area have the people with high risk of poverty, what is the surrounding, what is the environment of this area that resulted in the poverty of that person or the people who living in such area. So the map is very important. So no matter what the topic is, but when we comes to the planning, the development, and the decision making, maps are very, very important. Okay, so that's we talk about the poverty, right? For example, you see the people have high percentage, let's say in Isan, right? In okay, let's call Isan to make you not confusing with the regions of Thailand. So we talk about Isan, right? Okay, so there are higher rates poverty in Isan, but why? What are the reasons? So when you learn from the map, when you learn in geographical information that it's provide, you know that the area of Isan is there's not much of water going through. There are the climate characteristic is easier to have either a rainstorm or drought. Okay, and also you can learn that the people in particular area using the wrong method of non-sustainable agriculture. So as you can see, when they grow rice, after they finish to prepare for the next cycle, they burn instead of let it the soil heal by naturally. They prepare by burning the crops to be able to regrow rice again. So that is causing the soil to be degraded, right? So that's why the actions of the people, and again in that area is not much of the forest, it's not much of the natural resources, it's make people harder to survive or living in not such a well-being environment. So it also caused the way people create incomes, and incomes granted you better chance in the capitalism world to have a better life, right? So when you have less income, you have less chance to get to many services and education. When you have less education, then you basically doesn't know what to do with your life, or what is the right, what is the correct way versus the educated people, right? So the crops in Pathum Thani, the rice field is more sustainable because people have higher chance or to get incomes, higher chance to get to education and services from the government, so they have knowledge to do the correct way of growing crops. So over there and over here, comparing knowledge of the people mixed with the resource, the natural resource, the characteristic of the area they are living in, these combined will explain the current condition of the area, of the people, in this case, to see why the people in Eastern have high rates of poverty. So that basically explains it. So you can see that only study about people themselves alone cannot explain. Study about the weather, the area alone cannot explain. In geography, it studies both the earth physical, the earth physical, the people, and the relation from them to the earth, to the environment. We have to study all of these aspects in order to understand humans. That's why you need to study geography. And last but not least, you see this map, right? Who doesn't know what Pattaya is or where it is? Hopefully you all know, right? And hopefully after this COVID-19 is end, we all can go to studies. Not studies, travel and studies. Okay, for fun. So Pattaya is well known as a attractive tourist attraction. People likes to go to Pattaya both for domestically like Thai people and foreigner, the tourists from other countries that travel to Thailand. They will have at least Pattaya in their destination to go when they're traveling in Thailand. But why? Because Pattaya have ocean. It connects to the not ocean connects to the sea. It has a bay where people can swim and playing in the water. They have the many fun activities, and also people like to go to sea, right? No mentions about it. And surrounding Pattaya area, there are many famous islands that you can visit to get a very relaxed vacation, right? So why do I talk about Pattaya? Why do I talk about tourists? Because tourism and the map is basically the benefits of each other. Tourists receive benefit from maps because people know what will they expecting to see for their destination, right? They want to go to Pattaya, so they take a look at the map. Why should I go to Pattaya? Why is famous? Oh, I see. Over there, they are the sea. They are the bays, which means we can have lots of activity, have fun activity in the water. Oh, there are many shows, many attractions within Pattaya, and that's exactly where I want to go. I want to go swimming in the afternoon and then go for the walking street in the evening to get a drink, to meet new people. So that is perfect. So the map provide him all this information, make him easier to understand about the destination that he will be arriving in, and also attract people when they know what will they expect to find in that area, right? So tourism, if no one's ever known about Thailand before, they never know what is Pattaya is, what we have in Pattaya cities. Will they come to Pattaya? Will they come to Thailand? No, they don't, right? But when we study, we collect our data, we analyze, we create a map, we create the tools that provide information for people that wants to know, or they have the chance to know. So when they get to know, it will create them feeling that they want to come. Nobody's like to go places that nobody ever goes before unless you are the explorer, right? But if you are the normal people, at least you want to know the place. You want to study the place before you make a plan, before you make a decision to go to that places. That's why the map benefit in tourism industry. And not only for making a plan, but also like we mentioned in the first benefit of the map, that the map also provide a everyday usage. Why the tourists are here, he is not familiar with the cities because he came from maybe another province or another countries, so he doesn't know where things are, where to go, which road to take, which bus to go, and the map is his helper in his buddies. Without the maps, they get lost. So the maps also provide them to go to more places. So now they know if they come with no maps, they just search from Google, right? They see some website reviewing stuff, but they don't know the whole thing. They might miss something good. But if they have the maps, they have more options, or even they want to go at all, then they don't miss it and they spend more money. We get more money. The tourism industry is growing. That's the benefit of the map. Very simple, but nobody were thinking about it before. Everything in social studies can be related because human is very complex life form. We have very complex the way of thinking, and our action is based on physically and psychologically. So if you can find the connection, there always be a connection and relation to everything. to every aspect, to every action, to everyone and everywhere on the planet Earth. So that is basically the sum of a little bit of the social studies and geographically, but we're just at the beginning of the geography class for you guys, Mathematics 5. We are here in the first chapter, in the first unit. We talk about geographical instruments. Next, in the next class, we will talk about the technology that we use in geography. Now, before I end this video and this class, it's time for Q&A. Okay, so if you do have any questions, please, it's the time for you to type and ask me. Okay, I will try to answer in every questions, but you need to understand that typing is not my thing. To be able to answer most of you is really hard when you ask at the same time. So try to see if someone already asked the questions. Do not ask the same questions again, or unless I will not answer the questions you were asked. Okay, and if I was not able to answer all of these questions in today, I will try to cover it in the next video. Okay. Oh, and again, this is very new to me to create a video teaching or the online teaching, so it might get a little bit of time to get used to it, but I hopefully in my next video will be improved. Okay, so you also can give me a suggestion what you expect in this class. Oh, and by the way, in this class we need to have a meeting and talk about the rules that we want to imply in this classroom. So to be a new teacher, to be a teacher in the new generations, I don't use I use the word we, meaning you and I need to work together. We have to create the rules together because it's our classroom. It's not belong to anyone, but it's ours. I'm teaching, you studying, or sometimes you can teach me and I will be studying from you. If you have other ideas or knowledge you want to suggest, or if you find the knowledge that I put it in quite wrong, or if you even have the suggestion or any criticism on my teaching you want me to improve, I am feeling free to hear all from you. But if it's let's say nonsense comments, please do not put it, because we don't need that, do we? Right? Okay, so for the time you have right now, the video is past to 1 hour and 13 minutes, which means you still have 27 minutes to complete. In this meantime, I will try to answer all these questions. Okay. Oh, and by the way, all of the material and the video will be uploaded in every week, meaning you don't get the file for the next video unless it will be released in the week of that video. Okay, you understand? Am I making sense? Okay, let's say that the second week you cannot get until you reach the second week. Okay, for both video and the material the cheats that you need to read to make more understanding. And also I would like to point it out that all of my cheats will not provide lots of informations. I will try to put it as short as possible. So if you find that it's too short or it's still not clear, you can ask me during the Q&A time, or you try to listen when I am explaining throughout the lecture. Okay, and hopefully this COVID-19 is end soon, so we can see each other in face to face. I would like to get to know all of you, and I hope we get along just fine, or even have a great time together in the geography class. Okay, and yeah, and the rules, they are the simple rules that I can tell you right now. That is, all the students of the geography class, you need 80% of attendance for the class. This is the rules that comply with the rules of the school, the main rule of the school, the regulations of the school. You need 80% of attendance, unless, sorry, otherwise, if you not reach the 80% of attendance, you will not allowed to be in the exam. Okay, and if you do need to absence with a reasonable cause, you need to provide, for example, sick leave or lab boy, right? You need to provide the medical certification, so we know that you are really sick, or the if it's really you know, if you are sick but you didn't go to the doctor but you try to rest at home, at least have the letter written by your parents to confirm that you are really sick. And second is personal leave, or what we call lakit, right? So if you go for your personal business, need to provide me with the letters from your parents that they that we know that you are on your family business or personal business, and you're not skipping school, or you are here in school and not come by your own. Okay, and then when we talk about missing class, you can miss the class, but every absence will cost you a deductions of attendance score. Also, coming to the class late also consider the deduction of your attendance score. So in total there are 5. Every late there will be the deductions of score until they're none. But if you are later than 3 times, we'll consider you as absent. And the time to come to class, if we are in actual class, not in the video section, if you come to the class later than 10 minutes, you consider as late. If you come to class later than 15 minutes, you consider as absent. Okay, but all this can be overlooked if you have the reasonable cause of late in attending class. Okay, so that's all for today. I would like to end the video and leave you 10 minutes to finish up what you have been written in from the lecture, or what other questions you want to ask me in the next class. You can do it too, and also give you a break before the next class begins. Oh, and remember, during the video you have the power to play and pause your video, right? I believe so, right? So during that time you need to manage to finish the video within the time period, within the schedule of the class, so you're not watching my videos overlap with other teachers' schedule. Okay, so please do not make it happen. And let's end this class right now, and thank you for attending the class, and have a wonderful day. Wish all of you be safe during this difficult times of COVID-19, and hopefully all of you are healthy and strong and ready, happy to come to class when we are able to. See you again next week. Have a good day. Bye bye.